2021. So I'd ask that everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I'd actually like to ask everyone to stay standing for a moment of silence for the shooting and everyone it impacted in Buffalo, their families at the Alina Health Center. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And being it's a Zoom call, I just kind of talked to everyone that's on, but we'll do a quick roll call. Commissioner Smalls.
Here, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Wright.
Present.
Commissioner Luthens. Commissioner Luthens.
Commissioner Luthens, you are muted. Thank you.
Commissioner Luthens, you are there?
Present.
Commissioner Nagel?
Here.
Commissioner Kruger is here. All right, we're going to start this morning with a recognition of retirement of our employee, Hannah.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. This morning, I'm grateful to be recognizing Jean Dalkey as she's celebrating 26 years of service to McLeod County Health and Human Services Office from October 3rd, 1994 through February 26, 2021. And she is retiring here at the end of the month. Thank you, Jean, for your dedication to McLeod County.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to thank Jean for her service to McLeod County.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was kind of waiting. I wasn't sure if she was going to say a few words, but being she's not, I would also congratulate her for her years of service. Thank you. Moving on to consideration of agenda items. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to accept the agenda items.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I need to remove I'd like to remove item 14A from the agenda, asking you to consider approval of the Budget Committee recommendation for distribution of CARES funds. There are some additional details that the Budget Committee is still finalizing related to this item, and we will plan to bring this item back to the board for consideration at the next board meeting on March 2nd, 2021. This timeline still fits within the state's deadlines and also within McLeod County's timeline that we provided for identifying fund recipients. The state deadline is March 15, 2021. This will not impact the county's timeline for identifying fund recipients either.
And that was 14A?
14A.
Very good. Anything else? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to consider the agenda items with the correction.
Move to
Schmaltz,
approve.
move to approve.
Right, second.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmaltz and seconded by Commissioner Wright. All in favor, roll call. Commissioner Schmaltz?
Aye.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens?
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel?
Yes.
Mr. Kruger's aye. Consent agenda. Any additions or corrections to the consent agenda? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Commissioner Nagel, move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel. Is there a second?
Luthen, second.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. All in favor, roll call. Commissioner Schmaltz?
Aye.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is aye. Motion passes. COVID-19. Barrett, you're on.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning,
Morning.
Commissioners. As of yesterday, February 15th, late afternoon, McLeod County has had a total of 3,345 positive cases of COVID-19. At our last board meeting on the 2nd of February, I reported 3,311 positive cases. So that's an increase of 34 cases over the last 2 weeks. As you can see, that number is dramatically decreasing, which is excellent for us to hear and witness. Unfortunately, we have had 48 COVID-19 related deaths since the start of the pandemic. And as always, I encourage you to check out the McLeod County website if you're looking for more information on data regarding to COVID-19 as it pertains to McLeod County. We continue to work on our vaccination planning and are having our vaccination clinics. We have had 11 closed pod, which is invite only vaccination clinics. We are having another one today as we speak. And then hopefully one more planned for this week as well. We did get an email late last night saying deliveries of the vaccination may be delayed to bad weather around the country. So we will see how that pans out for us this week. At our vaccination clinics, we continue to work on our phase 1A, which is our healthcare personnel, dental offices, group homes, chiropractors, anyone who has not yet been vaccinated that's considered a healthcare worker that works in close proximity to their clients. Also, we have moved on to E12 education providers and also childcare. This past Saturday, we had a really successful clinic for that population. Being childcare providers just can't come during the day to get vaccinated. So we vaccinated a number of people this Saturday. We were very grateful for our flexibility to do that. As of Saturday, we have administered 1,369 doses of COVID vaccine, the Moderna brand of vaccine. And things are going really good, like I said. As I've mentioned before, the governor and the state of Minnesota's goal for us is to have 90% of first dose vaccines used within 72 hours. McLeod County has not only reached that 90% goal, but has exceeded that, and we are at 96%. So we are quite successful with that. McLeod County as a whole, not just local public health, but our partners at Glencoe Regional and Hutchinson Health, have vaccinated a total of 4,490 people have received their first dose, and about 1,500 people have received both doses of the full series of the vaccination. That is 12.8% of the county has received at least one dose of the vaccine. That is more than the people who have tested positive for COVID-19. So we're starting to kind of get on the right side of things here. We're very busy. Again, things are still changing constantly. Our clinics have been very successful. We've got that down pretty good, are able to set up and take down and manage that quite well. So we will continue with those efforts. Any questions for me?
No questions, Baird. Thank you. I've been by a couple of the vaccinations when they're going on, and it looks good. It's in our, I mean, everybody looks like they know what they're doing, and they're working them through. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any more questions for Barrett? If not, we'll move on to Administrator Sheila Murphy.
Good morning. So for a COVID-19 update for administration, we continue to provide services throughout the county in a socially distanced manner, doing the best that we can. Here in the new government center, the flow is starting to be a little bit more organized, make more sense for everyone, which is nice. And we want to thank the public for using that public check-in system, especially for the licensing center. We know it can be a little frustrating to do something in a new way at times, but we are doing our best to keep the public and our employees safe. And with doing so, we've been able to continue providing services without any more interruptions like we had earlier in the pandemic. So thank you to our Auditor Treasurer, Connie Kurtzweg, and her team for continuing to keep that flow going in the License Center, and thank you to the public as well for supporting those efforts. We did have a concern after our county board meeting last time that we're all here without masks. And I just wanted to make sure that the public is assured we are spaced out. Some of us are in different rooms. Some of us are in different buildings. When you do see our county board, when you see our commissioners at that table, which Commissioners Wright and Commissioner Nagel are today, they are spaced out quite a distance. It's difficult with the audio and being in person and being on video. And today we have a couple of topics that we know some people from the public will be attending to. So we've moved them into a separate room so that we can continue to provide the internet audio and space them out. And we may have to move people in and out of that room and disinfect in between. So we'll just thank you for your patience as we accommodate that effort throughout. But I just want to assure anyone from the public that is concerned, we are following the executive orders given by the governor in regards to local government meetings and the ability to not be wearing a mask when you are presenting. But we are also distancing to keep everyone safe. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sheila. I would just echo that too. We're doing everything. We're erring to caution, and I thank the staff for all the work they're doing. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I hope it's coming across as good as it looks to me, but I just thank everyone that's helping with that. Moving on to environmental services, Mark.
Good morning, everyone. I just
Morning.
have one item in front of you today. It is just consideration of approval to auction sell the 2005 Peterbilt semi-tractor with the sales auctioneers, Glencoe, Minnesota, at their consignment auction on April 10th, 2021. This is a fleet and government service, ag and construction equipment consignment auction.
Here.
Pardon me, Commissioner Nagel?
Mr. Chair, we vetted this in the workshop in exhaustive detail, so I would move to approve.
There's a motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve the sale. Is there a second by Commissioner Luthens? All in favor, roll call. Commissioner Smalls?
Aye.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens?
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is aye. Yes. Thank you, Mark.
gentlemen.
Okay, moving on. Court administration is Karen on this morning.
Good morning, commissioners. And good morning to the new commissioners that I have not had an opportunity to meet yet. So I wanted to indicate here in 2020, we were seeing a lot of attorney bills coming in with a variation of billings. And some of the things we were seeing was for travel time and different things like that. So the judges and myself, along with Debbie Dene, got together and we sat down and we developed a billing policy so we could put some guidelines out there so attorneys know what they can bill for and what they cannot. And we did this as a means of trying to not only have everybody on the same page, but also to hopefully help save some money for the county and have these guidelines out there. The one thing that we did add to this, and I'm looking for your input, is to set a fee for paralegals or legal assistance. We have some attorney offices that charge for this, others that do not. Some of it, and I think some of it is because attorneys, if they do have legal assistance, they're doing the work and getting the higher rate. So we wanted to see if we could set hourly rate, and this would be set then by the county, of up to $50 or not to exceed $50 per hour for paralegals or legal assistants when they're doing work related to court appointments. The $100 an hour attorney rate is set by the district bench, and that was set in 2019. Prior to that, it was $75 an hour. And I believe it was over 10 years before the last time that fee had changed any, had gone from $50 to $75 an hour. So it was a long period of time with no increases in there. So some of the other things is we put some guidelines that they cannot, charge for, like I said, their travel time unless they are going to a facility. Sometimes there are facilities, we see them more so on our commitments, sometimes in the juvenile area. And it would just be the travel rate. Now, I did send this to the county attorney back in, I think it was either December or January, for feedback, and I did not receive any. I am taking this to the Sibley County Board as well here in the next couple of weeks or next week for approval, and it mirrors this one as well. Just because we use a lot of the same attorneys across the county line. So we wanted some consistency. So do you have any questions of me at this time?
I just would like to, you covered the whole, you have a board action on two different subjects and you covered them all, and that's good because they're kind of linked together just somewhat, but I'd like to go back up to A on consider approval of the court appointed attorney billing policy. Is there some discussion that we would need to have or should have on that? Mike, do you have anything on that or any of the commissioners?
The only thing that I would have is this covers areas such as child in need of protection cases, commitment cases, it may be guardianships. It does not cover the criminal actions where the state public defender's office or district public defender's office is appointed. That's a different animal. So this is civil matters only. And
I mean, I guess I would appreciate, in your words, Mike, being a lawyer, does this streamline it or does this make it a little bit more balanced? What does it actually do? I mean, it looks good to me, but I'm just a Joe on the street.
Well, the district court is supposed to work with the county board in managing the court system as it operates in McLeod County, and this is a part of that. And I certainly don't have any objection to it. It seems appropriate.
All right, commissioners, any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the billing policy.
Mr. Chair, I believe you'll want to take items A and B separate. Am I correct on that?
Yes, this is for A. This is just for consider, or at least that's the way I've got it in my agenda, and I believe it should be done that way. It's just to consider approval of the court-appointed attorney billing policy.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, with Karen's report and her efforts to at least try to control costs, I will move to consider approval of the court-appointed attorney billing policy.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmaltz. Is there a second? Is there a second? Kruger seconds. All in favor? Roll
Mr.
call.
Chair,
Yep.
Commissioner Nagel seemed to be, his computer is frozen. Let's see if we can get him back online to vote.
All right, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, we should probably ask for a discussion to the
Yes.
motion before voting.
Commissioner Nagel, are you back on?
They're taking a look at it, so we'll just see what that amounts to. I'll let you know what's going on.
All right. Apologize for the glitch, but that's computers today. It's too cold. They're slow as well. I could say something smart, but mine's working, so I don't want to jinx mine either. So
He'll be on in just a moment.
that's fine. Thank you.
Can you see him on video? Are you on audio?
I only see 4 at a time. That doesn't mean he's not there.
Mr. Chair, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I'm going to back up to the actual, Commissioner Smalls made a motion to approve the court-appointed attorney billing policy. Is there a second?
I think, Mr. Chair, you
I
seconded
did,
the
and
motion.
I was going to give Joe or Commissioner Nagel a chance. I think he was out. That's the only reason I backed up.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm sure you all missed me, but I can second the motion.
Very good. Motion made by Commissioner Small, seconded by Commissioner Nagel. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Roll call. Commissioner Smalls.
Aye.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens.
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel.
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is aye. Okay, Part B is considering setting a paralegal fee at $50. I think Karen did a nice job explaining that. I don't know, Mr. Young, have you got any comments to make before we move forward?
None.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for our attorney. Is this a fee that should appear within our fee schedule like all the others?
Actually, no. And the reason being that these matters are set by the court and the bills are approved by the court. So although you're approving them as fees, they are actually court approved fees, and they're consulting with you on this. So I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve the paralegal fee. Is there a second?
Luthen, second.
Second by Commissioner Luthens. Any more discussion?
Discussion, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner Smalls.
Yeah, as Karen stated, not to exceed $50 an hour. I'm wondering if we should have that language in our motion.
Commissioner Wright, you made the motion. You want to include not to exceed $50?
Yeah, that would be as read in letter B, setting the paralegal fee at $50 an hour. That would be the motion.
And I guess Commissioner Smalls was the inclusion of language not to exceed $50 an hour.
Or I believe the intent of my question was that we will reimburse up to $50 an hour. They can charge less.
Right, and that is why we put in there not to exceed 50, because some would charge a lower rate, but we don't want anybody going over that either.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. A roll call, Commissioner Smalls,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Aye.
Commissioner Kruger's aye. Thank you, Karen.
I just have one question, and maybe Mike can answer this as well. I don't know if we need to, on the bottom, we have approved as of. Does this need to be signed by the county board, or do we need to add anything there?
You don't need to add anything. The minutes of the board will reflect that it was approved.
So we'll just put it as of today's date then.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to the county board. Have a great day.
You too, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Sheila.
since we don't have everyone in the same room, I just wanted to notify our board that there are about 6 individuals from the public in the other room. So they may utilize the public podium throughout the meeting, of course, and not everyone's sitting by it. So it could take a minute or so for people to get up there. And also that our Auditor Treasurer, Connie Kurtzwig, will be using the public podium if she presents any items, just for audio reasons in that room. Thank you.
And that's fine. Just keep us, keep someone aware of who wants to speak so we don't speak over or we have patience, I
Chair.
guess. Go ahead.
Hannah Choflat is in that room and she'll be moderating and helping the public if they have comment. They can see her right now, so she'll wave to them and we will just keep going. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, number 8, Sheriff Langenfeld.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Good morning.
Okay, so I am here today to seek approval of a mutual aid agreement with the city of Minneapolis for the upcoming trials related to the George Floyd case. The attached agreement that's in the packet, there is one mistake that I just found this morning in the term area. I originally agreed to have this agreement in place from March 1st of 2021 to March 1st of 2022. The agreement in the packet shows 2024, but I've asked Liz to amend that before signature. And I will wait for any questions.
Tim, I have one question that I thought of after talking actually with you and looking through your information. From Glencoe or from McLeod County into the metropolitan area, are you aware if these joint powers agreements have been made with the counties or the cities moving towards Minneapolis?
My understanding is they have asked almost all the law enforcement agencies that are willing to send staff if they can to fill out and agree to these same agreements.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Go ahead, Sheila.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, but maybe it would be helpful if the sheriff read the second paragraph of the request.
You can make me put my glasses on for that, aren't you?
Do you want me to read it for you?
Nope, I got it.
Okay.
So it's important for people to understand, though, I have not made a decision to send staff.
Damn, you muted yourself.
Did you hear any of that?
No.
Okay.
No, go ahead, start over.
All right. It's important for people to understand that I have not made a decision that we will send staff. However, for us to be reimbursed, I need this agreement approved ahead of time. We're experiencing our own staffing issues within the sheriff's office. So the numbers of people, because of the timelines that they would want them, we may not be able to meet anyway. But like I said, for us to be able to be reimbursed, we would need to have this agreement in place. So that second paragraph pretty much just reiterates that. It says, while a decision to provide assistance has not been made, the sheriff will require approval to send staff without delay if a decision for assistance is reached. The sheriff's office would be eligible to be reimbursed according to the plan included in the board packet. Additionally, dependent upon pending legislation, the sheriff's office may be eligible for additional reimbursement from the state of Minnesota for additional costs incurred for additional staff needed in McLeod County for related events. My understanding is that process got turned down yesterday or over the weekend in the legislature, so I don't know if there'll be more coming or not. However, with this mutual aid agreement with the city, we would still be eligible for reimbursement for our costs associated with that.
Any more questions for Tim from the board?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Smalls.
Yeah, Tim, I appreciate the concern and consideration on the request. You stated in your report that I believe I heard that you were not overstaffed And the first thing that comes to mind from me is if we even could honor the request, and if there's a question about that, I'm not so sure I would support the mutual aid agreement. Secondly, I think I'm looking at protecting the citizens of McLeod County in my district. When I speak of this decision, I would not be comfortable putting any of our McLeod County deputies in harm's way down in Minneapolis. Thirdly, I happened to, I think, catch a little bit of the committee hearing that was going on last week. And I believe that the information that I heard was there's some entities still waiting for reimbursement from last May, I believe, is what was stated in a committee hearing at the state level, as far as reimbursement for their services. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Young.
Commissioners, it's important to separate here the public policy of public safety versus the politics of this. We in McLeod County have oftentimes relied upon other law enforcement agencies when they had a special ability and we had a special need, bomb squads and things like that. It's important that law enforcement work in as holistic a form as possible. And this does not mean that we are sending people. It means that depending on the need and depending on our available resources, it's up to the sheriff to then make that decision, as it should be. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Go ahead, Commissioner Nagel.
I couldn't agree with Mr. Young more. I mean, the reimbursement is important to fund this, and obviously I have a biased opinion on it as I work on the street. But when you're asking for help, when another cop is asking for help, you go, and that's what they're asking for. The sheriff will make a decision if it makes sense to send our staff, depending on the needs. He is not going to leave. I have confidence. I know it. He's not going to leave McLeod County. The cupboard's empty. There's other law enforcement agencies that can help supplement county activities within the county. And I think it makes sense that if the need is there and the sheriff has the discretion to send people and he thinks it's the best move, I think we got to give that to him. So with that, I would move to approve the request as amended, right, Tim? The dates.
And the one thing I want to add is several months ago with the planning of this, they asked what our staff was trained to do and what we could handle and what we would allow them to do. What I put for our staff would be to assist the sheriff in protecting the county assets, which would be the government center, the jail, the communications center, any other areas that the sheriff or the county needs protected. Last summer, some of those areas were breached, and they have a pretty solid plan on what to do not to make that happen again. So they would not be roaming around the streets, going to each individual hotspot or riot or looting. The instruction that I gave is that if we are able to provide them, that the work that I want them to be doing is to protect the county infrastructure.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Commissioner Wright will second.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel, second by Commissioner Wright. Is there any more discussion?
I just wanted to make comment. I think Commissioner Schmalz did an excellent job of showing his concern for the safety in his area and as he sees it for the members of our sheriff's department. However, this is our sheriff's job to be able to make those decisions and to put this agreement in place at least gives the ability to be reimbursed if that call comes in and they need help.
I also have, thank you, Commissioner Wright. I also have a comment. I thought about this long and hard, and I have talked to Tim in a couple different times on my concerns. I think Commissioner Schmalz is right on his, and I really got thinking about what does a real mutual aid agreement mean? It means that that's a two-way street. It means that if we need some help, they need to give us some. And then there's, being that I was once in the military, they need these agreements in place in order to do strategies. I mean, we're in unprecedented areas where we didn't think that at least I didn't think I'd ever have to go through this. But, and then I come back to totally trusting my sheriff or our sheriff. I think he can make the right decisions, and I would hope that he would continue to do that. I mean, it's a kind of a fiasco in the metropolitan area, but like Mr. Young said, we need to overlook some of them, and I'm worried more about all our police. So with that, is there any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate the discussion that we made and the input that Attorney Young and Commissioner Nagel put forth in the discussion. I believe with the discussion that took place, you know, I can support the motion as it stands. So I believe my questions have been answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Hearing no more discussion, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Smalls.
Aye.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens.
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel.
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is yes. Thank you, Tim. The only thing, would you email out us that final agreement when it's complete? I'm not in a hurry for it, but at least I'd like to see it. And
Yep,
and again, be safe.
Yep, thanks. I'll work with Liz to get that done. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Oh, you ran Pat. We're a little past 9:30. We have a public hearing that we need to get into. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Luthen, second.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of opening the public hearing. Commissioner Smalls,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Aye.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is yes. Connie, purpose of the hearing, Commissioner or County Attorney Young, please.
I thought I got a promotion there for a minute.
Well,
I don't know if it's a
depends on
promotion.
what you call it, the promotion. Watch out what you wish for.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, you have received a petition filed by Mr. Roger Rauch, R-A-U-C-H, on behalf of MRR LLC, which is requesting that you allow the use of 32.96 acres of land up near Walden Avenue to be drained into County Ditch 63. You may recall that there was recently a redetermination of benefits done in this area regarding the watershed of County Ditch 63. Prior to the redetermination of benefits, approximately 7 acres out of this area was benefited and was allowed to drain into the County Ditch 63. After the redetermination, that was increased to 11 acres. And the petitioner is requesting an additional 32.96 acres that would be drained into the County Ditch 63. What you are to determine, and they can't do this unless you expressly allow it, and what you ought to determine is whether or not there is capacity in County Ditch 63 for the additional flowage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Commissioner Wright, do you want to take, I mean, it's consideration of the petition for additional lands. I mean, how do we actually want to proceed with this? I'm just a little unclear of that, but.
I guess because there's a wall between us and the individuals that are most likely here to on the ditch system that want to hear the discussion and what happens today, maybe we should hear from the petitioner to explain what their intentions are, and then see if there are any other landowners that are present. And then from there, we can talk about questions that the board members may have after we hear the concerns.
I would be very much in agreement with that. So if Hannah, if you can hear us, if who's ever willing to speak, have them identify themselves and show their relevance to this particular topic, and proceed with their comments.
Can you all hear me?
I can hear you, Connie.
Okay. If it's okay, I did receive actually one comment in the mail that was also in your packet, and I would like to read that out loud as we do, and then we will let the public come forth after that.
Yep.
Okay. So this is actually entitled Ditch 63 Redetermination of Benefits Request Comments, and it is from James and Mark Ludowies. It starts out, we are opposed to the granting of the petition by MRRR LLC to benefit additional acres to McLeod County Ditch 63 by the Ditch Authority. We base our opposition on the following facts. Number one, the petition contends that CD 63 already serves as an outlet to these acres, that it was an oversight not to have the acres in question added during the recently completed and approved redetermination of benefits. We believe that to be untrue. A survey completed by Ewert Brothers Drainage demonstrates that the water in the area in question cannot presently be flowing to CD 63, see attachment A. B, Hector drain tile proposal for upgrading and or replacing the main tile flowing into the northwest to Judicial Ditch 1, see attachment B. C, the petitioners are not facing undue hardship by having to take their water to JD1. D, the neighbors are willing to grant easements for the tile upgrade to JD1. E, the viewers are willing to attend the hearing to defend their redetermination of benefits. They had conversations with at least one of the owners of the property in question and physically confirmed by viewing the water flow in the intakes in the area in question that the water was flowing to the northwest, not south toward JD 63 they have on here. If the water as proposed has to be lifted by mechanical means, how could it already be flowing to JD 63 naturally? G, what happens in the future when the old main flowing to JD1 fails and all of the acres on the farm collect in the low area that the property owners propose to drain by pumping the water into a 6-inch tile? It's not a long-term solution. Number 2, the 10-inch tile main going to ditch 63 cannot handle more acres. A, the drain tile capacity chart shows that with a 3/8-inch coefficient, a 10-inch tile with a 0.10 grade will drain 47.7 acres. Based on the current benefited acres, the 10-inch tile presently drains a total of 60.5 acres, Reiner 9.0, Johnson 7.0, Fox Ridge 33.5, and MRRR 11.0 acres. Therefore, the existing tile is already over capacity without adding any more acres. See attachment C. B, even if the additional acres are pumped with a reduced rate of flow into the 6-inch tile in the road ditch, that water will affect the capacity of the 10-inch to take water from the other acres in the system that are at a lower elevation. The pumped water from upstream will continue to cut capacity for a much longer period of time. C, what effect will the potential ponding over the 6-inch intake in the road ditch after a heavy rain with the pumping running have on the integrity of the road? D, neighbors downstream are opposed to adding more acres to the ditch 63 watershed. And number 3, JD 63 in its present condition cannot handle more water. According to Houston Engineer Inc.'s technical memorandum, County Ditch 63 located in McLeod County is in disrepair. If the proposed repairs are approved and are implemented, This will reduce peak water levels for smaller rain events, but is not anticipated to substantially impact peak water levels for the 100-year event. We seem to be having those 100-year events more frequently. Thank you for your consideration, James and Mark Ludewies. Okay,
Thank you, Connie.
thank you. So is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the board? Sure, if so, just come up, state your name, and then you may speak. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, also Zach Burmeister is commenting publicly online. He is counsel for Mr. Rauch and MRRR. So I'm not sure if he has another comment or just wanted to announce that he is here.
Don't
So
let me
Mr. Burmeister,
forget
if you have a comment.
We have somebody at the
Mr.
podium.
Burmeister.
When he leaves, you can make his comments if you would, please.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Roger Rauch, and that was quite a description of opposition. But what I'm here today is to say it was an oversight. There is 700 feet of tile from the 60s that goes into that low spot. And with modern practices, larger farm machinery, that tile was only 12 inches deep. Hence, with the bigger equipment, it has destroyed it. Our goal is to maintain that line and replace it. And at the present grade, it just wouldn't work. So we have proposed to put in a deeper line, bring it to the edge of the ditch, lift it into the 6-inch tile, which is the same water that would have been flowing from the 700 feet we project to go, 800 feet, and put it in that same 6-inch tile to the 10-inch, which has now been increased in size. So that we're not changing anything, we're just still pumping, we're moving that water into the 6-inch tile. Right now it's plugged with earth from modern farming practices. That's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I don't believe Mr. Burmeister has provided further comment yet. He said that he would be waiting on the podium speaker. Is Zach Burmeister available on video or no? I am checking the list. One moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome. He is on online. Mr. Burmeister, would you like to comment? You are on mute. There you go. You're off mute. Would you like to comment?
Yes, thank you. And I just want the board to be aware that this tile has already been permitted by the Buffalo Creek Watershed District. So the termination today is about capacity of ditch 63. And it's been my understanding that, you know, this land that is being petitioned into 63 has been outletting into 63 for many years. It was just, it was missed by the viewers, which is something that happens. And the, you know, kind of the most streamlined way to ensure that those missed acres are back into the system is to just petition for them to be back in the system. And I believe it's 11 acres were assessed into it when we expected there to be about 40, 45 acres, something similar to that number. I think it's 4396. And so all this is doing is correcting the number of acres that we wanted to be assessed into this, or should have been assessed into CD 63, and ensures that our client is, you know, getting the benefit of the ditch and paying his fair share of the benefit of the ditch by ensuring that these acres are assessed into CD 63, which for years has shown that there must be sufficient capacity for it, because these acres have been in ditch 63.
Excuse me, I did I miss who was just speaking, and how do you pertain to the ditch system?
Sure. My name is Zach Burmeister. I'm a drainage attorney at Rinke Noonan, and we've been retained by Mr. Rauch and RRR.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
We have another public comment.
Thank you. And just a reminder, when you approach the podium, to introduce yourself, please. Thank you.
James Ludowies. And I just want to say that we did have this tile surveyed, and there's no way that that water has been going to ditch 63. So
You're incorrect.
I do have a question before they get too far away there. Obviously, I mean, now I'm a little bit confused. The water was only, or this 11 acres was put back into the system by the redetermination of benefits. Go ahead, Sheila.
Mr. Chair, just a reminder to the public that any comments that are made that are part of the meeting need to be made at the podium. Otherwise, they won't be able to be heard as part of this.
Thank you. Yes, anybody wanting to address, you're more than free, and in fact, you're encouraged to address, but do it at the podium. We'll do the cleaning in between as far as sanitizing, but just identify yourself and put put your comment.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
While we're getting organized in that room, can anybody tell me, and forgive me for not knowing if I should, has this ever been part of the system or not?
That's my question as well. Thank you, Mr. Nagel.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
I checked with Connie last week, and prior to the redetermination of benefits, 7 of these 11 acres were within the system. After the redetermination of benefits, 11 acres are now in the system. The 32.96 acres that are being petitioned into the system at this request have never been a part of the legal drainage system.
So, Mr. Young, are you saying what they weren't paying? They weren't paying anything to either system. To what was the other number, 1 or whatever it is? Was it wasn't anywhere. It wasn't being assessed anywhere.
I can't say anything about County Ditch number 1. What I can say is that it was not assessed into County Ditch 63.
Thank you. Any other questions? Or is there anybody waiting to make comment?
Yep, we'll have someone joining us in just a moment.
This is Roger Elk again. I believe the tile in question that they may have surveyed is west of the particular spot that the old tile is in. The old tile, when we dug it up, was broken into pieces. So again, that's the old tile. It's been there since my lifetime. I don't know when it was put in, and I don't know when the other one that they saw flowing was put in either, but it's farther west. It goes near that. The topographics of that area don't allow it to flow over that little ridge that they may be saying it goes to the north. It just doesn't. It has to come southeast and then south and southwest.
I do believe we have another public comment. If you can just go right there.
Hi, I'm Jack Ewart. I'm from Ewart Brothers Farm Drainage. We've been in the business since 1908, and I actively for 50-some years surveying, and I surveyed that line that starts at Walden, or from Walden all the way down to the Grove. There's 5 intakes that allow me to survey the elevation. So if I start at Walden, start at 100 as a reference point and go west 400 feet to the next intake, the flow line or the bottom of that intake is 0.4 of a foot lower. I go to the next intake at station 600 feet. That intake is now lower by 7 tenths. Lower again. Go to 1400. That one's down another, just a minute here. A foot 10, lower again. And I go to the Grove, that one's lower again, another 6 tenths. So, I don't know how Mr. Roush comes up with his numbers or what he did, but when I survey, that tile line is running west down to the Grove. Each one gets lower. If you said, well, let's start right from Walden and redo it, he would be about 4 feet deep at Walden, and as you made your way over to the Grove, you'd be on top of the ground 2.5 feet. That's why they need to do the pump. So now he pumps and he goes over there and he wants to pump into a 6-inch tile that handles about 10 acres. The pump will pump it into the 6-inch, but the 6-inch cannot handle it. It just will bubble out. It can't take it. So it runs on top of the ground, down the hill, back to the Grove, into the intake, back to the Walden pump station. It can't take it, down the hill, it just recirculates. 6 inches too small. It should really be drained to the north and be the best outlet for that farm. Mr. Roush, I think even if you put the pump, just simply would not be happy because it won't work.
Anything else?
No, I'm done.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ewert.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Young.
I would note that Mr. Ewert's report is attached as a part of attachment A. It's dated January 23rd of 2021, and it's addressed to Jim Ludowies. And it is roughly a 6-page document showing what those measurements were, showing the tile line and all of those matters. That's a part of the public record that you can consider. Thank you.
We do have another public comment.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Part of what Mr. Ewert describes probably is correct. Where that low spot originates from, the tile, the bottom of that tile is 18 inches from the surface. And if you'd follow that in his extrapolation to the ditch, the intake in the ditch is approximately 4.5 feet deep. That's the fall we had to work with that line. That's the line he's talking about. Now, the other line, I don't know how he comes about making it drain to the north, but it doesn't. So where does that tile drain to? It drains across the road. And we've already been permitted to pump that into the 6-inch tile, which pumps less than that 6-inch tile will flow. So we're well within the reasoning of pumping into a 6-inch tile. It's a manual pump, so we start it by hand. It doesn't pump all the time and automatically. It's just to get the surface water off. And again, it's to replace the tile line that was there. If you follow that line around, it does not go to the Grove. It stops in the low spot.
Mr. Chair, Mike Young, County Attorney again. The record should reflect that that was Mr. Roger Rauch that was addressing the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have another public comment.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Brad Eastroff. Just wanted to voice my opposition to this, that water eventually flows through my land, and I would oppose any more water coming in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have another public comment.
Thank you. Doug Johnson, Lynn Township Supervisor. We really don't have a fight in the battle here. We just have two concerns. First concern is for the board, if this is considered, is the lift station where it would be located, that we would have to watch where it's in the right of way of our road and that we do not have a hazard. And if there is overrun, to take out, we don't have culverts that are below that to be able to handle the water if it does overflow that pump station. So that's our two biggest concerns for Lynn Township. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead, Commissioner Wright.
Hannah, was there another one coming forward?
Not yet. Go ahead.
Okay. So I guess being this isn't my district, I'll just throw out some things that I've been writing down, and this topic has been around for a few months, and there's been a lot of meetings and effort put into coming to this point. First of all, whatever process we use in deciding what to do here, we need to make sure that it's definitely fair to everybody, and that we can repeat it the next time another ditch system has a similar topic like this that comes up. And the fact-finding part, when Mr. Ewert came forward, of course, Mr. Ewert and his crew have been tiling for decades in McLeod County. We have them do county ditch work for us as well. And I think we can thank him for bringing a lot of value to McLeod County farmland with their skills and drainage. But when he stated the elevations that he found, I think that is definitely weighted very hard as far as the fact finding of where this tile line goes. And I remember that tile line being an issue when the original redetermination was done. And the appeal window that is open during that redetermination is the time to correct these things. This is very time consuming and expensive at this point, and it's very unfortunate that landowners not take advantage of that window. But we're here today. A couple concerns beyond that. The petition itself has an additional 32.96 acres listed. I believe when the redetermination was done on this system, as it is with all of them, they're definitely more all-inclusive as to water that comes off of side slopes and hills. And I don't see that reflected here in the 32.96 acres. I think that we're potentially looking at a drainage area much larger. And therefore, I think that there's maybe an issue with that number. We're asked here the capacity of the system. And with about a month from now, we'll be having a meeting with landowners to discuss what type of repairs to do. That was the plan, first the redetermination of benefit, and then we move on to the repairs, and we're looking at some very significant repairs because the capacity of the system is definitely impaired with culverts being out of place and anywhere from 1 to 2 feet of sediment within the system. It was indicated by landowners there that it is not draining properly. I completely agree with that, and we have a lot of effort that has to get put into getting the capacity of that system up there. So at this point, until that capacity is put back to what its as-built design was, do we really need to be adding acres? And that's a big question that I have, and in hearing from a couple of the landowners that came forward, it sounds like maybe that is a big concern to them as well. That we do not have enough capacity to add acres at this point until the clean out takes place, which could be easily 1 to 2 years down the road before we get everything done. The next question is, how much water are we talking about by adding these acres? And that is a question that an engineer has to answer. And We did get a quote from Houston Engineering to look at capacities and flow, and that was about $5,000 to $10,000 was the estimate. And we're definitely not going to do that on behalf of the ditch system. That would be on the petitioner to look at that and bring that data forward to answer these questions about is there capacity or is there not. And so those are three concerns that I have. The acres, the capacity of the system, and would be number two, and the third then would be exactly how much water flow are we talking about to affect the rest of the system. There is an issue here that is more on the private side, and that is the capacity of the tile that they're moving into, but that is not for us to discuss, but I know it is a concern as well, as well out there. So I am at this point definitely not in favor of approving it. I don't know if tabling it for more information, I don't know what else we would look for. Otherwise, it is to deny at this point, and at least until we get that system built up to maintain the capacity that the current landowners are currently paying into, to get that taken care of first before we start looking for additional acres. I do not know how we have a tile line out there that has or a testimony on one side says that it goes one way, and on the other goes, the next person would say that it drains a different direction. I don't understand where the conflict is there, but when Mr. Ewert takes his shots, I have to believe that is fact. So that's enough for me for now.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Is there any other comments from the audience or from the board? Hannah, do you have anyone there?
Currently, no one is ready to comment. No.
I guess my short comments would be I followed the map along when the best I could anyhow, when Mr. Ewert was giving his elevations. And I mean, if those are correct elevations, I have to believe the water's running the wrong way, or it depends on what you call wrong, but it's not running the way that we've been told. So again, that's just, how do we proceed? I'm not totally clear. Tabling it for a certain day is kind of hard because there's evidence, or obviously going to have to be some work done by either engineers or whoever to bring back to reapply. That would be my best advice. But
yeah, at this point, if we want to table, we have to table for a reason. And so at this point, I'd ask fellow board members: are there pieces of information or data that you feel that you need in order to make a fair decision on this, or are we prepared to take action today? My thoughts are that a motion to deny, it takes a lot more thinking to do that and limit activity more than a motion to approve sometimes. And this is perhaps one of them. So I want to make sure that I've got, that I'm seeing this properly myself.
We do have another public comment.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
This is Roger Rauch again. We seem to be talking about two different lines. I'd like to be able to probe this line that I'm talking about from the ditch intake all the way out as compared to the other one that Mr. Ewert has been talking about. And that'll take till springtime, ground thaws. Okay.
Mr. Rauch and Mr. Burmeister, this is Mike Young, McLeod County Attorney. Is that a request by you that this matter be tabled for about 4 to 6 months?
Yes, please.
And that was Mr. Rauch that responded, or Mr. Burmeister?
Mr. Rauch.
Mr. Rauch.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
With that information, and I agree that we have to have a reason to table it. I think we have it now. So I would move the table to, I don't know the date, Mike, help me. Does the first board meeting in June help? Or
That
make
would be
sense?
June 8th.
All right, I would move the table till June 8th.
There's been a motion made to table or by Commissioner Nagel. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I'd like to interject. This is Liz Danielson. The first meeting in June is actually June 1st. And that is, let me see here. Yes, June 1st.
Oh.
June 1st and then June 15th.
Okay, that's fine with me. June 1st.
We would also need a time, Mr. Chair. 9:30?
9:30, we can set that at 9:30 for the purpose of the motion at least. Is that all right with the second? Commissioner Wright?
Yes, yep.
Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded to table this till June 1st at 9:30. Is there any discussion? I do have a discussion point. If
Mr. Chair, we can't have any discussion on it. I'm sorry, sir.
well, that's right, it's a table.
Mr. Nagel, you learned that very well. Thank you.
I've done it wrong several times. That's how, why.
Very well, we'll call the question. Commissioner Schmalz,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is yes. With a caveat, though, I guess I can do a caveat even if I can't have discussion, but I would caution the petitioners to, if they want to get this done in a hurry, to figure out if they've got capacity to that ditch. And that was alluded to in some of our further discussions. Even if you figure out which way the water going, there's still for the ditch authority, we still have to figure out if there's capacity in that ditch. And I guess being we're all here today, is there any questions from the group that is there on that question? Hannah, is there anyone in there that would like to comment on that?
Yes, one person.
All right, thank you.
I think there is a real question about capacity of that ditch. As you know, ditch 63 drains into Eagle Lake, and Eagle Lake has got a dam on the south end of it that determines the water level in that lake. And from what I understand currently, there's 36 acres. For every 36 acres that drain in there, the ditch has, or the lake has 1 acre of capacity. So it quickly fills when you get any kind of rain event. And once that water levels up in the lake, the ditch backs up and it backs out into Diesterhoff's property, and everybody else's water slows down because all the outlets into the ditch are underwater. And, oh, I am Mark Ludowies, by the way. So that would be an observation. I think there are other people here who would also validate that observation.
Thank you, Mark. Mr. Young, I don't know if I'm in order or out, so it's going to be a question for you. I think this discussion should possibly, I mean, that was going to be our second thing anyhow. I'm a drainage guy. I realize that farmers need to make some money on their farm and they can't do it when the water's sitting there, but I'd hate to come back June 1st and then send someone out on another task. So, Mr. Young, am I in order by having this discussion?
Mr. Chair, you are acting in a semi-judicial capacity here. It's up to the petitioners and to anybody else to bring whatever information that they wish to you to give to you. Your role isn't to go out and do the investigation. That's the role of the petitioners and anybody else from the public that wishes to be heard.
Thank you, Mike. That's I was getting to. I have no intentions of going out and doing it. I'm just saying, all I'm saying is if, when we come back on June 1st, it'd be nice to have everything we need to make an educated decision.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Nagel.
I think, we've given them the direction that we can. We've tabled the item to give them roughly 6 months to a little less to get things in order. And because of that, I think we probably should move on to make sure we don't get ourselves in any predicament that we don't want to. We have staff available for that to help. And questions can come later, but hopefully June 1st, everything will be in order and we can make a decision.
Thank you, Commissioner. I agree. I mean, it's up to the petitioner to bring us this facts. Go ahead, Mr. Young.
If Mr. Burmeister wishes to have a copy of the items that were submitted into the public record, he can contact Liz at County Administration and obtain copies of those.
Thank you. That's a great idea.
Mr. Chair.
Any more? Pardon me? Any more business?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Sheila.
Just because I know there's a significant number of people attending from the public and they'll have to exit the building, just a reminder not to congregate in the lobby or other areas without social distancing, because we do have the waiting area pretty well mapped out in the front for our licensing center. So thank you for being mindful of that on your way out.
So the hearing is closed until June 1st at 9:30. It will be at the Government Center. I don't think any other information needs to be included. So we'll move on to Auditor Treasurer. Connie, you're still with us.
Just checking in, Mr. Chair, does there need to be a final vote on that?
Unless I'm going to be corrected, there was a motion made and passed on tabling it.
Thank you.
But sir, you have a public meeting still open, so you ought to have a motion to close the public meeting.
Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn the public meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Made by Commissioner Wright, seconded by Commissioner Nagel. All in favor?
Just a moment. It's actually to continue the public hearing to June 1st at 9:30.
So we can't use the word recess?
Well, you can use the word recess, but you can't use the word adjourn, and that's the word that you used.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify the motion, it was to recess the public hearing until June 1st at 9:30 in the Commissioner boardroom.
Commissioner Nagel seconds that.
That's the motion and the second. All in favor? Commissioner Smalls?
Aye.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens?
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel?
Yes.
Kruger is aye. Auditor Treasurer, Connie, you're on.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, so the next item I am here for is item A, consider the ratification of the CAMA USA Maintenance and Support Agreement Amendment between Minnesota Counties Computer Cooperative, otherwise known as MNCCC, and Avenue, providing an extension for support for CAMA USA from January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2023. Amendment 7 to both the Computer Assisted Mass Appraisal, or CAMA, and the Property Tax System PTS contracts between Minnesota Counties Computer Cooperative, MNCCC, and Avenue has been approved by the CAMA and Tax Advisory Groups. Amendment 7 to the contract extends the maintenance and support of the existing products from January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2023, and states the notification of cancellation policy as counties are not required to participate for the full term of the contract extension. It is required of all participating counties to ratify the agreement and commit to meet the agreed upon terms as set by both the amendments and the user groups.
Board members? Questions for Connie?
Mr. Chair, I have none. She laid it up pretty good. I would move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve.
Second by Schmaltz.
Seconded by Schmaltz. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Schmaltz?
Aye.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens?
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is yes. Go ahead, Connie, with B.
And item B is to consider setting the public hearing for CD 63 repair report. A repair report for CD 63 has been completed by Houstoneering Inc., and we would need to schedule a public hearing for that. I do have some dates available for the board to think about. It was March 16th at 1 o'clock, or March 17th at 9 o'clock or 1 o'clock. These dates are confirmed with HEI, myself, SWCD, and the county attorney.
May I ask what would we be using for a location on that?
Well, since CD 63, I guess I wouldn't be opposed to having it here, but you know, it's a smaller system. It's only one system, but that's of course up to the board.
Am I right here looking at my calendar? Is the 16th? Is that a board day?
It is a board meeting date, but we wouldn't have that during a board meeting because there would be presentations by HEI. And they typically take a little longer.
So the times would be for the 16th would probably be then after 12 o'clock. Is that correct?
Correct.
Just for something to take into consideration. Board, I'm open. I guess I'd like to hear from you guys. I think having it in the government center is just fine.
Mr. Chair, and Connie, what's the time frame for the 17th?
Well, really, I think that all of us were open, you know, morning or afternoon. I just chose the times of 9 and 1 o'clock.
Yeah, a few of us will have AMC between 9 and noon on the 17th of March.
And I also have a CRF committee on there. I don't know, Paul, that's something I suppose it could be changed.
CRF is not an issue, but myself and Commissioner Schmaltz and Commissioner Luthens will be at EMC training during that time.
On the 17th?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the afternoon then of the 16th or the 17th?
Mr. Chair, my calendar says on the 16th, I've got a well-being committee at 2 p.m.
Commissioner Schmaltz, the well-being committee meetings are pretty, they have quite a few meetings throughout the year, and if you needed to miss that one, it should be okay. Carrie Ward would be able to give you a summary afterwards and then address anything you need brought forward to that one. She's pretty flexible with helping you out on that, I'm sure, if that's the only scheduling conflict.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Nagel.
I'm getting a little lost in the date and some times here with what's going on, but the 16th, I'm always a fan of once we're here, get as much in, but these board meetings have been running a little bit longer and I hate to get any of that jammed up. So I would propose, if it's feasible for everyone, again, admitting that I've lost track of everyone's calendars, that we do 1 o'clock on the 17th.
Is that a motion?
Yes, it is. We'll see where it goes.
Made by Commissioner Nagel for 1 o'clock on the 17th. Is there a second?
Second by Schmaltz.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Schmaltz. Is there more discussion?
Are we talking a Zoom link here, Mr. Chair?
Well,
Mr. Chair, I think we can figure that out when we get a little closer to see where we're at with the issues at hand.
In fairness of discussion, it has to be done within the governor's orders. I'm not having a problem gonna try to come in some more as well, but it changes every day. So I agree with Commissioner Nagel. Let's run it a little closer and see what we can do. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Schmalz,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is aye. All right, I have to, you got any more, Connie? I have to double check here myself, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Chair, could we take a 5-minute recess, please?
Sure, we'll recess. I've got, come back in at 10:30. Does that look right to you? My
Yes,
clock's right.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, we'll recess till 10:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Nagel. They have a audio issue that they're fixing, so give us another minute.
Fine, just let me know when, ready to go.
What do you need there?
Sheila, are you doing the screen sharing today?
I will. I'm sorry. I had a little glitch there, but I am back. Thank you for waiting. I'll get it up in just a moment.
No, we were good. I was just having and it was okay, but I had some other stuff on the left side of my screen and I didn't know where it actually came from. It was been there the whole meeting, but it was fine.
Yeah, it was the right screen I had up. So there you go. We are on, Mr. Chair, we are at number 11.
Okay, and does that paperwork on the left side of the screen mean anything?
No, it does not. Those are just the page numbers for the agenda. You should be good just referencing what's in the middle of your screen.
They're so small that I was having a hard time. Is everyone back from break? I see Commissioner Schmalz and myself, Commissioner Wright, Nagel, and Luthens. Are we all back?
Yes.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, very good. Number 11, Assessor's Office, Brenda.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Brenda Schmolewski on behalf of Sue Schultz in the Assessor's Office. Just bringing forth one item today. We've reached a settlement agreement with IRC Hutchinson concerning the building they previously owned. It's located at 1320 Highway 15 South Hutchinson, and it encompasses Aldi's Pizza Ranch and PetSmart. They've agreed with the offer that was discussed on the closed meeting of February 2nd this year. The offer is to reduce the value for the assessment year 2016 payable 2017 from $2,953,100 to $2,420,000. Then to reduce the assessment year 2017 payable 2018 from $3,385,500 to $3 million. And then the 2018 payable 2019 would remain at the $3,570,700.
Any questions from the board here? I'm just trying to catch up on my packet page here.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead, Commissioner, or Mr. Young.
After our closed meeting about a month ago regarding this matter, you had directed us to Sue and I to meet. We did so and came up with this offer. We conveyed it to them. They have accepted it. And what your motion would be is to approve the settlement and authorize me to sign on your behalf.
Looks straightforward to me. Commissioners, is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that a motion to accept the settlement and authorize County Attorney Michael Young to act on behalf of the board.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Luthen, second.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, Commissioner Schmalz,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger's yes. Thank you, Brenda. Have a good day. Stay warm.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, number 12, Public Works. John,
Good morning, Commissioners.
morning.
Item A, we have another request for an LRIP sponsorship from the city of Lester Prairie. We're looking for you to adopt Resolution 21 CB11. This would sponsor Lester Prairie's application for local road improvement funds for the construction of First Avenue North between County Roads 23 and 9. Again, with these LRIP grants, the MnDOT requires non-state aid cities and townships to have a county sponsor and the support of the county board. And again, there's no financial obligation to McLeod County for this. This would be similar to what you did at the last board meeting for the city of Stewart's LRIP application.
Any questions for John? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to consider Resolution 21 CB11.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Schmalz will move that we adopt Resolution 21-CB-11, sponsoring Lester Prairie's request for LRIP funding.
Is it motion made by Commissioner Schmalz? Is there a second?
Commissioner Nagel, second.
Second by Commissioner Luthens. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Schmalz,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is yes. All right, what's the next on your B, John?
Yep, item B, I would like you to consider purchasing two 2021 Ford F-150 4x4 Super Cab pickups from Midway Ford out of Roseville. Midway Ford has the state contract for these pickups at a state contract price of $31,979.41 each, including tax and license, for a total of $63,958.82. And these pickups are in our highway equipment maintenance budget and the parks budget for this year.
Any commissioners, any more questions for John? Or any questions?
Move
Hearing
to
none.
approve, Mr. Chair.
A motion made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Second by Schmalz.
Seconded by Commissioner Schmalz. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Schmalz,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger's yes. Very
Okay,
good.
Item C, then we have a couple old irons to get rid of them for those pickups. We'd like to consider selling the following used pickups on min bid, and they would be a 1999 GMC half ton. That one has 175,000 miles on it, and a 2001 Chevy S10 with 120,000 miles. Currently, those pickups are in the Parks Department, and with the previous purchase you just did, we're gonna, a 2010 GMC Canyon will be transferred to the Parks from the Maintenance Department, which will make everybody whole again with the pickups.
Questions for John?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Schmalz moves to approve request to sell the two trucks on min bid.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalz to approve the sales. Is there a second? I'll
Luthen,
second it. Or any more discussion? Hearing now, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Schmalz,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is yes. Go ahead, John.
Last item D, we'd like you to authorize our Department of the County Engineer to proceed with letting dates for the following projects with funds coming from our construction budget this year. The projects are stated project 43-602-31, which is a concrete overlay on County Road 2 from Sibley County up to 10th Street in Glencoe. That's a 3.3 mile project. Project B is SCP 43-603-33. It's a concrete overlay on County Road 3 from Trunk Highway 15 over to County Road 75. That's a 4 mile project. And then SCP 43-615-016 is a concrete overlay or a bituminous rehabilitation project on County Road 15 from 16th Street to County Road 3. And that's that stretch that is basically where Morningside is going to end up to County Road 3. Currently, we're considering that as an alternate bid between concrete and bituminous pavement. Typically, these three projects, along with a couple others, would be discussed at the 5-year plan workshop that we're doing, which is upcoming in another month or so. But given the timing of these, we want to get these out to bid, so that's why I have them before you today.
Thank you, John.
I'll add to that with these projects, we'll go out for bid, assuming you approve us going out to bid. You know, we receive the bids, and then before award and approvals, we come back to the board with the bid results and so forth, and then take action on them there. So you'll see them again.
Thank you, John. I know all three of these, and they're all in need of repair. I mean, it's pretty obvious just by driving them, and drive slow and look at them. They're all up. So any more questions for John?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve bid letting for A, B, and C.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls to approve. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Smalls,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger's yes. Motion passes. Thank you, John. Could you comment? I mean, I know you sent out the email on that roundabout on 212 in Morningside. Could you just comment on it quick, please, before you leave?
Yeah, so MnDOT and McLeod, we applied for some funding opportunities for a roundabout at 212 in Morningside and Glencoe there, or County Road 15. And we were informed last week that we've received Highway Safety Improvement Program funds. That's federal safety money. McLeod County received $400,000 for that roundabout. And MnDOT has received some special freight money from, I believe I don't know if it's federal and or state money, but they've received, I want to say it was $1.6 million in freight funding for that. So that project will be funded. I believe the construction year is 2023. So that project got funded.
Thank you, John, and appreciate the work on that. That gives us some efficiencies to finish up our Morningside project as well.
Yeah, it does. That's good news.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Employee Relations, Hannah.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Commissioners.
Morning.
I have 5 items this morning. Item A, consider approval for a temporary $150 per pay period stipend for one public health nurse while they help lead the COVID-19 vaccination clinic efforts for McLeod County. This stipend will be in effect through the length of the vaccination efforts.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Sheila.
I would just like to offer some support for Hannah's request. We've been working together to try and find a solution to support this individual who has had to put in an extensive amount of hours without being able to take vacation, cannot accrue any more compensatory time as we've negotiated. In other times of need above and beyond scope of people's duty, we've tried to accommodate where we can. We did do that in public health when we had the absence of Jennifer Hauser, and then had Amanda, Lori, and Robin helping out in other supervisory capacities above and beyond what they were doing and helping with the direct role. So this is sort of mirroring that effort in an attempt to try and support this role. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Any more from you, Hannah, on this?
Nope.
Any questions from the board? Does anyone wish to make a motion to approve this temporary 150 pay period stipend?
I'll move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Nagel. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, Commissioner Smalls,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright, excuse me, Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Mr. Kruger is yes. B, Hannah.
Item B, consider approval for the Evaluation Committee and Personnel Committee recommended grade assignment for the part-time Government Center receptionist position, graded at a 110. This is a new position and will be located at the front desk reception area at the Government Center.
Mr. Chair, move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is there a second?
Luthen, second.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Is there any more discussion or any discussion? I'll just make comment as it's a needed position. We've had somebody there temporarily off and on, and the input that I get, it's very well appreciated, and I think it's needed. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, Commissioner Smalls,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is yes. Go ahead, Anna, we'll see.
Item C, consider approval of the Evaluation Committee and Personnel Committee recommended grade increase for the jail program coordinator at a grade 150. This position is currently a grade 140. The evaluation of this position was requested by the sheriff and jail captain as their responsibilities have changed since initial evaluation.
Questions from the board for Hannah?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, Commissioner Smalls,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Aye.
Commissioner Kruger was aye. His aye. Okay, where are we at here, D?
Yep. Consider approval of the Evaluation Committee and Personnel Committee recommended Health and Human Services Liaison position to be graded at a 160. This position was previously titled Public Health Nurse Liaison, which was graded 170. And due to an internal transfer, the position was left vacant. Prior to posting the hiring, the supervisors and Hutchinson Health collaborated to assess this position and revise the position description accordingly.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner Nagel.
just some credit to the Personnel Committee, well, more Hannah and Sheila, but for their efforts in always evaluating these positions. As you can see, they don't always go up, they go down. So we're always looking at those constantly, and I'm proud of that. So I'll move.
A motion made by Commissioner Nagel. Is there a second?
Second by
Luthen,
Smalls.
second.
Second by Commissioner Smalls. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, Commissioner Smalls,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is yes. E,
Last item, consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation to hire a temporary administrative assistant in administration while our full-time administrative assistant is on leave. This assignment would tentatively be needed from March 2021 through summer 2021.
I'm in favor of it, and I'll make the motion in just a second, but do we need a date, an end date? Is summer of 2021 okay, or should we put a date on it?
Mr. Chair,
go ahead, Sheila.
We can't offer an end date. That's why I listed it as March 2021 through summer 2021, just because we don't know when that period will begin and end, but we expect that it will be approximately 12 weeks once the person is on leave, but we need the time ahead of that to help train the person who will be covering for the leave.
Yeah, again, totally fine with that. Just want to make sure I'm doing it right here.
Sheila, are you comfortable with saying that it would be from March 2021 to end no later than August 31st of 2021?
Yes, that would be fine. Thank you.
And I think we could, if more time was needed, we could look at it later. So I would move to approve with those dates.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Is there any more discussion? Again, the dates are going to run from, what was the beginning date? Excuse me.
We don't have an absolute beginning date, Mr. Chair, because it depends on recruitment and hiring. So we expect it would begin in March 2021 and no later than August 31st, 2021. Thank you.
Just for the sake of the motion, thank you. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, Commissioner Schmalz?
Aye.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens?
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger's yes. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
County Administration, review calendars. Commissioner Schmalz.
Yes, since our last board meeting, of course, we all attended our workshop that followed our meeting on February 2nd. On Thursday, the 4th, I attended by Zoom Prime West Joint Powers Board. And the following week, on February 11th, I attended CHS committee by Zoom. The takeaway from that particular meeting, listening to our public health professionals, is that the vaccinations are, of course, the main topic today, and the issue with a vaccination is supply. They want supply to get these vaccinations in people's arms. And I also was fortunate enough to be elected as vice chair on the CHS committee. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you and congratulations. Commissioner Wright.
Meetings the last couple weeks. Our coronavirus relief committee continues to meet, and we did have to take that off of today's agenda so we can make sure that things are ready to approve and all the numbers are in the right spot. Budget committee as well. There's been a lot of phone calls and activity with Ditch 63 on our hearing today, and that had a meeting with County Attorney Mr. Kruger, Ryan Freitag, and myself with some of the concerned landowners last week. And we also met with our economic development group with the presentation from the 80 Advantage, getting that ready to put together. And
thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Luthens.
I met on February 4th at Prime West. That was a Zoom meeting. Then on the 8th, we had the MRC wetland meeting. And then we went into, on February 11th, Meeker McLeod Sibley County CHB meeting at the environmental building. And then on the 12th, the Southwestern Minnesota Adult Mental Health meeting. That was a Zoom meeting also. That was for the 2 weeks.
Thank you, Commissioner Luthens. Commissioner Nagel.
After our workshop, and by the way, I made a comment, the workshop was great last week. We got a lot of things discussed and the information that we needed. So thank you to everybody for that. Had a NACO phone call scheduled, budget committee, and several personnel committee phone calls and emails, which we just addressed. Also had a couple just phone calls with Trailblazer. Not on the board anymore, but still serve as the alternate. So was able to take a couple phone calls from them regarding some issues. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Myself, everything's been pretty much covered. I attended the workshop after our last board meeting, our CRF committee meeting. We talked, Sheila and Barrett and myself were invited to do the Glencoe Talk spot here on the radio, and it was a excellent chance to get out our vaccination and have Barrett comment on most of the how things are going in the health department with rolling out the vaccine and the COVID-19. We had some comments on the for the listeners on the government center. I also later that day had one watershed, one plan. That's the Lower Minnesota River West. And unfortunately it bumped together with our landowners meeting there on 63. So I had a tight schedule to really represent that, but I do have the minutes and I'm reviewing them as well. On the 8th, we had MRC, which is Minnesota Rural Counties. And we cover the business on what to push at the legislature, what the trouble difference in our 87 counties. We don't have all 87 represented, but we do have a good cross of the whole state. So it's really helpful. A lot of our issues were obviously border to border broadband. That seems to be the #1 issue, and how to improve that, how to find the money to do it right, and how to spend it and get some lasting results from it. We also had a number of issues on nonprofits and county and state buying lands and taking them off the tax rolls, and some ideas how to really compromise and try to make something out of it, so our counties, school districts and townships and road authorities are able to fund their projects. I also met with Abby Advance on our economic development. I'm somewhat excited about that. I think we've got a lot of good things going that are prudent to McLeod County and benefiting McLeod County. On the 9th, I had department head meeting. On the 11th, the agenda review. And just to comment on Trailblazer, I had several visits with Trailblazer. We had some issues up in Buffalo. It's been in the newspaper, so I guess it's been talked about enough. But everything as far as Trailblazer is concerned is all the right word, I guess. It was all copacetic. We're okay. We did what we were supposed to be. Everybody followed procedures. So with that, Sheila.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. County Administration, as you know, item A was removed at the beginning and tabled for our next meeting. So not removed, sorry, but tabled. Item B, consider authorizing Commissioner Schmaltz to represent the McLeod County Board at mediation and arbitration matters for condemnations in coordination with our County Attorney, Michael Young. A commissioner is needed to attend arbitration regarding the condemnation, mediation, and arbitration proceedings with the County Attorney. The current condemnations with proceedings are in Commissioner Schmaltz's district. Therefore, he is being requested to accompany Michael Young at these hearings and represent the board.
Mr. Chair, move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve Commissioner Schmaltz's appointment. Is there a second?
Second that.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Is there any discussion?
Just one thing, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
This is similar to, pardon me, this is similar to what Commissioner Wright did regarding our arbitration with the Steinbit ditch appeal in his district.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Young, for explaining that. Is there any more discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Schmaltz.
Yeah, the action that's taking place here, are we talking about County Road 15?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I really look forward to working with Attorney Young on issues pertaining to the county. But at the same time, I ask, is this the best practice that we can be doing? And my concern is, I realize this is in my district, I know, but you're asking me to participate with this proceeding when I may be a fellow church member with some of these people. Some of these people may have supported me in my campaign for commissioner. I want to be fair and represent the county and my district, and I'm wondering if I can do that. But if the board feels that I am the person to do it, I'll do it at the board's request. So my question going forward is this the best practice for us to be doing with the criteria I just mentioned?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead, Mr. Young.
Commissioner Schmalz wouldn't have any final say on matters. That would remain with the county board. We do need, though, to have my client present at the arbitration meeting, much like we did where the court ordered us to say, and actually it wasn't arbitration, it was mediation. We do need to have the client present at the mediation. So if there is somebody else that you would rather have, that's fine. But it should be one of the commissioners. We will likely have John there as well.
Mr. Smalls or Commissioner Smalls, I have every faith in you. I mean, I have every faith in your making the right decisions, but I'm also one to not make somebody serve in a position that makes them uncomfortable. So I guess what I'm trying to say is speak today or hold your peace. Don't like to use it that way, but if you know what I mean, no, Mr. Smalls, I don't, if it's too uncomfortable, we can regroup.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
If Commissioner Schmalz would rather have this tabled for 2 weeks or until the first or the second meeting of March, that is fine. I would need to have somebody from the board no later than probably the first part of April.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, according to what Attorney Young stated, we aren't asking me to make a decision. It would come before the board as a board decision, whatever comes of the proceedings.
I would say yes, but Mr. Young, you can qualify that.
Yes, I do not have, nor does any single commissioner have the right to bind the entire county board. And therefore, any resolution would have to come before the board for approval, just like the tax settlement agreement that you just approved with IRC Hutchinson.
Any more comments or questions? And Mr. Smalls, how do you feel? Nathan, how do you feel? Do you want to table it or do you want to go ahead?
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
Being our topics and meetings are quite extensive. I believe we don't need to table it. I'll do what the board is asking me to do and represent them. So I'll be okay with it. I look forward to working with Attorney Young.
Thank you. I think you can do a good job. I mean, that doesn't even mean you have to agree. You just have to be there and make your decision. That's fine with me. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Pate, appointing Commissioner Smalls to these proceedings, and I can't find it in front of me. But all in favor, Commissioner Smalls,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens,
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel,
Yes.
Mr. Kruger's yes. Okay, Sheila.
Thank you. Item C, notification of board workshop to be held following the board meeting on March 2nd, 2021 via Zoom and at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. Just a reminder that with the pandemic, of course, these meeting formats change pretty quickly, but we do release that information how we are required to, and to make sure that all of the public and our necessary parties attending have that information, but just keep an eye out in case anything changes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Open forum. Is there anyone there, Hannah, or anyone there that wishes to address the board?
There is no one here for public comment.
Very well. Press relations. Is there anyone on that would like to comment from the press?
Chairman, I just have one quick announcement. I probably should have said it during our calendar, if I may.
Go ahead.
Just because I like to bring a lot of the success stories and activities of the 4-H program here. Tonight we'll be meeting for the third time with our county shooting sports group. We were allowed to be able to bring that group back together, and the kids are loving it. We have a lot of them that come in. They'll be there tonight. We do shoot the disciplines of BB gun, air pistol, air rifle, and archery. We did have to move from the archery range over to the agribition building or cattle barn in order to have enough distancing for the kids and for the trainers. And then of course in between we were able to wash up the equipment or clean it up and so forth to follow all the guidelines. So I'm one of the trainers with that, but it is nice to see the ability to get some of these activities back moving again. And like I said, the kids are just loving it. They're in there. We're at max capacity. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. That's good to hear. I mean, I'm sure these, just from being boxed up myself and seeing the kids there, I'm sure they're ready to try to get out and get some things done. So any other things that should become from before the board? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to recess until March 2nd, 2021 at 9 a.m. at the Government Center. And it's up for me personally, it's up in the air to watch for the agenda to come out to see whether we're going to be there in person. I'm trying to, if things keep getting better, I would like to see us get back together. But again, things can change on a dime. So watch when the agendas come out. Is there a motion to recess?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nagel. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Smalls?
Aye.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Luthens?
Yes.
Commissioner Nagel?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger, we're recessed until March 2nd. Thank you.